technical G, because this one is going to be techie. How apropos. Because I've had enough of a couple of different people here in this Adrian Newey fiasco. First and foremost, I need to talk to Toto Wolff because I have had enough. This dude has been making mistakes. I don't want to quote the infamous Jose Mourinho and say that him, per Arsene Wenger, is becoming an expert in failure. But how dare he try and throw his hat into the arena as if he's got a hope in hell of procuring the services of one Adrian Newey. Why would Adrian Newey even think for a second of going to the guys and girls over at Brackley and Brixworth? You guys told me in the chat, because I'm confused with this genuinely non-rhetorical question. Why would he go there? It's not like Adrian Newey has any priority or places any emphasis on the legacy that is the heritage of Mercedes, the fact that they've won 8 constructors. Why would he care for that? This doesn't make sense. What, you think you can write him a check and that's going to have him over there? Adrian Newey cares not for money. You know what he also doesn't care for, Toto Wolff? He doesn't care for you, chap. He doesn't rate you, nor does he rate your managerial style. I have an inkling that you remind him of Ron Dennis, and he left McLaren because of him. So what are we doing at this stage, Toto? Like wishful thinking, mate. Why don't we make our objectives smart? Why don't we focus on the car? Per Christian Horner, why don't you fix your fudging car, mate? Look internally at your staff and your product first before you try and procure the services of anybody else, not least of whom Adrian Newey and Max Verstappen. Why would they even go there? Sort your own house out first, surely. Rules of first principle, brass tax settings. That's not to say that these negotiations won't happen with one Max Verstappen, Raymond Vermeulen, his manager, and Jos Verstappen this week coming at the Miami Grand Prix. I'm sure, 100% sure, that conversation will happen. But can you see Max Verstappen really going to drive a W16 at this point? You think that's something he's interested in? 3 soon to be 4-time champions. You think he wants to drive an SH1T box of a car? Absolutely flipping not. Who would? Nicholas Latifi would not want to drive that car at this point. So Toto, I think you have bigger issues. I think you've got bigger fires to put out as at 0424, mate. This isn't the time to be bantering and talking about grabbing Adrian Newey. What are we talking about here? Make your objectives smart. They got to be realistic, lest we want to sound like an ignoramus out here, like a man who is insane. But I digress. Let's talk about Adrian Newey and where he's going to next, because we've talked what's going on to Stephen A. Listen, let me talk about F1 for a second as well, whilst I'm in scorched earth mode. Get this out the way, front load it, clear blue. I did the thing about Senna, and I found it really difficult earlier to talk enthusiastically about such a tragic moment. 1994 Imola, welling up with tears long before I even came on the pod. And then I looked around at the space and I'm seeing who else is talking about Senna. And this isn't to take aim at anyone in particular, but everybody's hyped up on Newey. For the longest time, people have been killing me for talking about the news and Adrian Newey. Oh, stop engaging in the gossiping rumour. And the second that I recall and pull back and talk about something that's near and dear to my heart in the tragic death of one of the greatest peddlers that we've ever seen in F1 history, Ayrton Senna. I'm looking around and this F1 is barely celebrating it. Right, Netflix have put something out. There is an epic series that's there for diehards and Senna fans to watch alike. But what else is being done? A couple articles, a GOAT one by Damon Hill, I think in the Telegraph, Matt Bishop and Richard Williams, 3-part epic podcast. Colossally, that's history. Go and check that out. Well worth at least 3 hours of your time, and probably another 3 hours when you re-listen to it. Super detailed, super knowledgeable, as these guys, 2 of the best F1 journos in the business, reappraise for one of the most tragic racing weekends in all of F1 history. But I'm like, where is the commercial rights holder on this? I know they've put a video out just now, but surely they want to make a bigger deal of this race weekend short. It's been 30 years since Senna passing. Put some respect on that man's name. Let's talk about this Adrian Newey thing. And again, against the backdrop of everybody saying, oh, Adrian Newey isn't going to resign. What are you talking about, Cameron? Well, look now. You mean he's not going to resign? You're not looking to connect the dots. I'm a bit tired of common sense or the lack thereof in the space. When people are all like too buttoned up. This is what's always recoiled me from F1 as a space. Kind of lacks passion, and bloody people can't talk in a way that's commonsensical and link up some dots with a view to forward forecast what's going to happen in the next 2 weeks or 2 months, 2 years even. That's what we've been doing on this channel, trying to ascertain, figure out in real time what's happening with Adrian Newey. Now, of course, you guys saw earlier Andrew Benson dropped the article talking about how involved Eddie Jordan, Adrian Newey's mate, has been in this process, the negotiating or the mitigating of the gardening leave that was originally in Adrian Newey's contract, a non-competition clause, meaning that as soon as he leaves, he'll have another 12 months before he'd be able to lay his hands on another car not named Red Bull. Eddie Jordan, his mate, they live in the same place, right? South Africa, Cape Town, I think. They go cycling together. Eddie Jordan talks about this a lot on the Formula for Success podcast. Good friends. They are like this. Steve A. Left field, I know. Audi. Steve, I'll try and get a bit of Audi chat in there before I run away. But I'm not sure. You're talking about Adrian Newey going there. Go on then. So I'll get to it. Here's what Eddie Jordan had to say on the Formula for Success podcast. Bearing in mind, yet again, for the avoidance of doubt, Eddie Jordan and Adrian Newey are like this. Rumour, some say, that Eddie Jordan is, as near as makes no difference, Adrian Newey's manager. That he's intricately linked to all things as far as Newey's outcomes, where he's going. Is it Ferrari? Is it retirement? I've said before, again, table setting, that there is two potential outcomes, hot favourites as far as Newey's next step: retirement, and that would entail potentially a 24 to 36 month trip around the world in a yacht, or Ferrari. Don't listen to anybody else saying anything else. Aston Martin, sack that off. Lawrence Stroll gives him the heebie-jeebies, reminds him of Ron Dennis and everything bad about his stint at McLaren. Trying to leverage Adrian Newey with a view to boost Aston Martin's market value. Adrian Newey is not about that life. Miss me with that, even if the offer, courtesy of Aramco Petrogiant, was circa 25 million a year. Ferrari will offer that. They will meet that, maybe bump that a little bit higher potentially. So 25 million is the market rate for Adrian Newey. He won't go to Aston Martin. Ferrari potentially though. Frederick Vasseur meeting in London. He was in Bologna not long. Always wanted to work for Ferrari. Always wanted to work with Lewis Hamilton. Count that 4 good reasons why. However, in stark contrast, Eddie Jordan, his mate, nobody is probably closer to this circumstance as it moves around in real time than him. And again, Eddie Jordan is the guy that broke the news about Lewis Hamilton leaving McLaren to go to Mercedes in real time. Nobody thought that was coming true, but just to give you an indication of how close Eddie Jordan has been historically to breaking news. Here's what Eddie Jordan had to say. Remember that Adrian Newey has been, and David Coulthard, by the way, his co-host on the Formula for Success podcast, put him massively under the lens. Tell us what's going on with the Adrian Newey circumstance. Bearing in mind, Eddie, that two of you are practically neighbours in Cape Town, South Africa. What's going on? Be honest with us, asked David Coulthard. To which Eddie Jordan responded, remember that Adrian Newey, he's been in Red Bull under constant pressure since 2005. That is a long time, said Eddie Jordan. So if he's going to take time out and just cruise for a while, then everyone would understand that. And I think that's probably more likely to happen rather than diving into other possible employment career options. for the avoidance of doubt, at the outset, Eddie Jordan said, I can't dive into any details. I am closely linked to this circumstance, but I will talk to all the rumour and gossip, all of the articles as you are hearing them. I'm not going to give you any insight here, but I think Eddie Jordan's leaked something out there. The use of the word cruise. You guys have heard me talking about if he was to go into retirement, even temporary, the potentially a cruise around the world. He's taking delivery of a yacht imminently. So if he's going to take time out and just cruise for a while, am I reaching here? Am I reading too deeply into this, trying to read between the lines where there is no course to? Why did he say cruise? Because he's not meaning cruise as in cruise around the world. He's saying to just chill out, right? Double entendre there potentially. Maybe I'm doing the apoplectic thing and connecting dots that don't need to be connected. Things have slightly changed, continues Jordan. He's a bit older at 65 years old. This is a great team. Red Bull. He's had great drivers. He's got great personnel there. He probably should and would look to the future for a change of life. What the hell, Eddie? What are we saying? What are we saying, Eddie Jordan, really? Now, I've watched the clip back a couple of different times for leakage and body language, and I think Eddie's trying to keep his cards close to his chest. But if Eddie Jordan is who we think it is, and likes to leak, likes a cheeky drip feed, is he not telling us the truth here? That potentially, whereas Cameron thought the hot favourite would be Scuderia Ferrari for Adrian Newey as of 2025, maybe potentially maybe he might be front loading a cheeky break before then going across to Ferrari. Maybe that's the exam answer then. 6 months out, travelling the world, spending time in Cape Town with Amanda Newey, his missus, and Eddie Jordan, his friend, before then embarking upon a new role entirely, a super consultant role to the tune of 25 million a year for 4 years at Scuderia Ferrari in Maranello. Maybe that's the play, ladies and gents. Maybe we've just sussed it out. Hypothesis, conjecture and speculation as always, but maybe that's me connecting the dots. Go on then to Steve A's point, Audi. I don't think Adrian Newey doesn't want to go to any entity or any F1 team that doesn't have a grounding sufficient to where he sprinkles. I don't think he wants to be reinventing the wheel. That's the impression that I get. Those days are long gone, right? He's not looking to do the Sisyphus thing even and push the boulder continually up the hill. He wants to go to a place where at least the foundations are in place, where at least they're at ground zero. And I target Red Bull, he's leaving, Ferrari and or Aston Martin. Aston Martin we've already crossed off there. So I think that just leaves Scuderia Ferrari. So the terms are all that's up for debate. 25 million or more. Can you imagine if he gets 30? Oh, and super consultant settings, work from home settings. He will have a stable out of a Maranello, say, but contractually, I don't think he'll need to work there. They'll allow him to do whatever he wants to. Yacht project, yeah, have at that, Adrian. However you want it, mate. Write your own contract. Hypercar project, courtesy of Scuderia Ferrari, have at it, mate. Of course they're going to let him have all that stuff. Why would they not? I will say again, reiterate for the avoidance of doubt, Adrian Newey is one of the goatiest minds to have ever F1 for Pete's sake. 1988, Leighton House. Go and check out that car. Ivan Capelli, Alain Prost backed off through the corners thinking that there was no way that Adrian Newey machine could carry that much speed through those high speed turns without having a massive accident. Leveraging the downforce that's accessible in a linear fashion. One of these each and every single time. That's what Adrian Newey has done so successfully. Notwithstanding his ability to comb through the rules and mitigate, pull out the blown diffuser that Sebastian Vettel leveraged to such brilliance that actually got that dude 4 championships back to back. Adrian Newey creation. This is who that chap is. And then finally on this, take this one to the bank as well. Anytime there's been brand new rules and regs, you don't even need Adrian Newey to kick off. 2026 is when the new rules and the movable aero and all that stuff's coming in. 50% engines, yada, yada, yada. But all you need to know if you're trying to hire Adrian Newey is that the most recent iterations of rule and regs, Adrian Newey has nailed each and every single one of them. Look, 98, 99, new ones came in. McLaren, Hakkinen 2 years straight. 2009, okay, so he missed the first year, but what happened after that? 2010 to 2013, Sebastian Vettel, cheeky 8-year break for Mercedes to get a bit of dominance, and then Red Bull kicked straight back on. Nails it each and every single time. 94, okay, small gap. 92, I think, as well. 92, 93, nailed it. 94, they switched it up and he gapped a little bit. Anytime there is new rules and regs, give me the Adrian Newey car each and every single time. Take that one to the bank. Hybrid. If Newey ends his career by bringing Ferrari and Hamilton back to the top, he will be the undisputed GOAT. A man can dream. Hybrid. Millions of Lewis Hamilton fans around the world will be dreaming. Two impediments to that hybrid, I will say. Firstly, maybe Adrian Newey just sails off into the distance and retires for good. I'm thinking that he goes away for maybe 3 to 6 months, gets some rest in, comes back and does a 25 million a year for 4 years as a swan song for Scuderia Ferrari. Second impediment to that dream hybrid, however, one Charles Leclerc. Not a bad peddler, so I've heard. At the age of 40 years old, I know Lewis Hamilton fans are serious, man, I am one of them, but does Lewis Hamilton have the firepower at the age of 40 years or older to compete week in, week out qualify week in, week out with one Charles Leclerc if he's had his Weetabix? Non-rhetorical question. I do not know the answer to that, but what I do know is that not too many men ever in the history of F1 have ever won a championship at the age of 40 years or older. Let's count them on one hand, eh? Giuseppe Farina, 1950. Juan Manuel Fangio won his last one at 47, I want to say, in 1957. The only other fella is a chap called Graham Hill, I think. 3 or 4. Jack Brabham maybe. Not too many is the salient point, eh? 3, maximum 4. And especially in the modern era, don't get much of them. I think Mansell was like 38, 39. Mario Andretti in 78. 38, 39 maybe. You don't win at 40 years old in the modern era of F1. It's not the done thing. So young man's game. I don't care what anybody wants to tell me about, well, LeBron James and Tom Brady and Tiger Woods are operating at the highest level into that. Well, fair play, but different sports, eh? Very, very different sports. If you're talking reaction time, you need to be young to optimise for that, in my humble opinion. I mean, you just want to check out the UFC, right, and the lighter weights. Listen, the rule of 35, go and check that out. Not even 40, 35 in the UFC at the lighter weights. But I digress. Electronic, what's popping, my guy? Glad to catch you here live. No, I needed to talk after that. I was feeling a bit depressed, I'll be honest with you, before I run away. I was feeling a bit depressed after that Ayrton Senna stream. I was just like, it's in my bag. I was like, just a bit like... And then seeing that no one else was talking to it even, that everybody had just wrapped themselves up in the Adrian Newey stuff. Oh, and by the way, let me say this as well, before I run away. Hybrid, Newey didn't sound like he was going to retire. Well, to your point, Hybrid, Newey didn't sound like, why would he negotiate so hard to be released early from his contract with no gardening leave, with Eddie Jordan at his side, if he didn't intend to sign another contract, right? I think he's going to take a little break and then come back and sign with Scuderia Ferrari. 3 to 6 months maybe even a year. But as I've said, so long as he's got the rules in front of him, he'll be setting his mind on a 2026 car. He'll be right there. Vinny, when you just watch Cam F1 video and you just finished watching it to find out he's been live for 17 minutes, Vinny, You're a legend, Vinny. I do love the back and forth with you guys, the active discourse, you guys challenging me and getting fact checking me and telling me where I'm talking nonsense. But finally, let me give you this. Apparently, it's race weekend. Imagine the off-track news cycle has been giving us everything that we expected, that we'd hoped we'd get from the on-track activity, from somebody rising from the 19, from the Phoenix, from the Flames, to challenge one Max Verstappen. It hasn't happened. So deputising as far as our enthusiasm, as far as trying to attract our attention dollars, is the bloody news cycle. Haven't even talked about the Miami Grand Prix. The salient point, if we're talking Miami Grand Prix, is that this time last year, Checo Perez had high hopes of challenging, being that challenger that I'm talking about, being the challenge to Max Verstappen, challenging him for a World Drivers' Championship. Do you remember? Do you remember hearing Checo Perez's rhetoric? How he was speaking with bombast, how he truly believed that his objectives for the 2023 season were becoming a World Championship. Well, how did that work out? The tipping point for that transition in his modus operandi was Miami. Lest we forget that this time last year, Checo Perez dropped it on pole. Max Verstappen had a nightmare of a qualifying session. Where did he qualify? Like 7th or 9th. He was way down right. After a race where there were no safety car to bunch up the field, where Checo Perez had the entirety of the race with clear air in front of him, didn't have the opportunity once to press his DRS to leverage that additional speed, F1 NOS. That through all that, still, the Dutchman Max Verstappen managed to pulverise the field behind him and in front of him, behind Checo Perez, catch him up past the Mexican Minister of Defence and still win the Miami Grand Prix at a canter with time in hand. How very dare you, Max Verstappen? You are spitting on Checo Perez's dreams. It was Dunsky from then. And that's why you could hear Max Verstappen's rhetoric talking about, don't ask me that question again. Checo Perez will never beat me. Even if he does dream that he beats me, he's got to wake up and apologise. That's the spite that Max Verstappen was going on with last year. And that's what he's continued. That's the momentum build that he's taking through to this year. Expect this weekend, barring accidents and reliability issues, another absolute bloodbath from Max Verstappen. Checo Perez will turn up to the Miami Grand Prix, his stomping ground, by the way, with a massive demographic of Mexican Latinos there. Checo Perez would love to show out at the Miami Grand Prix, but if Max Verstappen showing last year is anything to go by, do not expect to see anything shy of a repetition. It's going to dominate, isn't it? But I digress. See you same time, same place tomorrow. Between now and then, the prosecution rests. No further questions, Your Honour.